We had 1 year that we had a lot of pink eye and foot rot. We have not ever had anything like that happen again. When you have adequate mineral supplementation, even in wet conditions, your animals will not succumb to those fusobacterium and get foot rot. Hi, my name is Julie Trask. Live probably 30 miles east of here and south a little bit at Elm Springs. I graduated from Colorado State in 2012 and I came home and started my own business here, and I've been here ever since. I definitely love what I do, and I love the people, and they raise a lot of good cattle here, so it's something we can all be proud of. I have been working with Jeff and Shalene Graham. Call her Mrs. Graham because she was also a teacher way back when for me and my family. We're mostly at the headquarters while I'm working. They're processing their cattle, cows, yearlings, and calves. And I don't know if I didn't say I'm a veterinarian. So I actually went back and looked up just in my records pregnancy rates on their yearlings. The first year that I pulled was 2019 to present. So in the last 5 years, on the yearling heifers, which is typically your hardest group to breed, which I thought would be a good representation for herd health and reproductive health. The highest percentage open was 8%, with the majority of it being more like 2 to 3%, which is above average, or I should say below average for a percentage of open. In the same area, I would say average in the last 5 years, I would say is more like 8% open on the yearlings, with last year being a really rough year for yearlings just because of the winter before. I would say in this area 15% open last year was average, with some being much worse because of the really bad winter the year before, and these girls were 8%. That says a lot about performance of any place, is that your cattle are developed properly and bred and coming up with that many pregnants. And then those same cattle, of course, live their life on the ranch and are coming back pregnant every year thereafter, having raised a calf too. So it says a lot for the Grahams and for the health of their herd. And their cows, I wish I would have pulled the record on them because they are actually much better. From memory, I would say, 2% open on the cows is maximum, with sometimes being for sure 1%. I don't think any of their cattle are butterball fat, and that's important. They're adequate, but they're not over-conditioned. There's a fine balance. It's because you don't want to over-condition again and set them up for bad feed, or be wasting money and resources, on feed that's just going through them. And also you see losses when they're too fat. Overconditioned cows will have trouble breeding back as well. So if they're too fat, then the subsequent year, especially between their first calf and their second, they're going to lose too much weight. They're going to be growing themselves and they're not going to breed back. But their 2-year-olds, and I have specific numbers on their 2-year-olds, have consistently bred back very well as well. These cows are in, I'd say, perfect body condition for what we need them to be, and also what fits with the economics of an operation too, so that they're not over-conditioned, but they are adequately conditioned coming into the prime season, breeding season. And I think it's also very important that the mineral leading up to that time frame is never shortcutted. You essentially need to have them in flush condition, probably in their prime, coming into May, June, July, your main breeding months. And our grasses, are strongest then. You'll see a bunch of crested first thing and then turn into the western. The body condition then kind of tapers off a little bit, especially as those calves are getting bigger, taking more, and it's hot and they're traveling to water and standing around water holes. So you'll see kind of when I'm preg checking, they're almost at their worst. Then in the wintertime, the calves are gone and they're getting fed or oftentimes just grazing, but they don't have the calf on them. So they start, gaining that weight back. It's just a natural ebb and flow. Feet health is very important, and their feet are all in good shape. Never have to trim feet or anything like that, which shows that they're not being pushed too hard. Their feet are growing slowly and normally. I think we had 1 year that we had a lot of pink eye and foot rot. Potentially it was the year after we had less available mineral.
In 2019, we weren't able to purchase Rio.
So that's kind of an interesting, I could look it up for sure, but I would say from what we talked about earlier that was part of it. And we have not ever had anything like that happen again. And that was, there was a lot of wet conditions, and that will also set you up for foot rot specifically. But when you have adequate mineral supplementation, even in wet conditions, your animals with the appropriate iodine specifically levels will not succumb to those fusobacterium and get foot rot. The biggest contributor to their health, honestly, is going to be being faithful to a mineral. Now, they also have what I consider our ideal range conditions. I just feel like Meade County is powerhouse for grass. I mean, the Midwest is. Maybe some years it's very short, but it's potent. It's powerful grass, and it puts weight on them. It makes healthy cattle. By doing forage samples and soil samples, you can tailor, and probably Rio does too, to make up for specific things that are lacking on certain places, or things that are excess in certain places too. And then that's where you make it up, is in your mineral. As the shepherd, then you check what they're missing, and then you provide that. And it's hugely beneficial. So I don't know if it gets that tailored with Rio, but what I've seen on the Graham place, it's very tailored, and it's working wonderful. I'm very, very proud of the Grahams and their cattle and their performance with their mineral. And they are faithful to their mineral. And that's a big thing, is being consistent with whatever mineral you choose. And I will say that of the couple of herds that I know that are on the Rio mineral, I am very impressed, because there's a variety of mineral programs out there. And so I see the gamut, but mostly I see a huge problem is not being consistent with whatever they're using. And the consistency with their mineral program has caused them to have excellent performance in the growth of their calves, in the reproduction in their cows and their yearlings, and the overall health. I would say body condition, hoof condition, and reproductive performance all stand out to me in this herd.